Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Table Manners for Robots. We are particularly excited about this one because this is part of a new series that we've just launched. It's called Unite for Small. This series was put together in direct response to the need that we find in the market right now. There is a plight that all small businesses are facing, which is not necessarily easy. The South African market is quite tough right now, and I'm sure the world over, small businesses are having trouble. But we wanted to do a deep dive into our local market and understand what are those specific challenges facing small businesses right now. And we wanted to get together, and instead of having just a session about complaining about all the problems. I mean, we spoiled for choice when it comes to problems. We decided, let's put together a very solution-oriented discussion. Let's get together a team of people over a few weeks and let's have constructive discussion. Let's see what are the systems we need to put in place, what are the solutions we need to employ so we can rise above this challenge. But why do we care? Why is this such an important problem for us? Why are we taking this problem so seriously? The reality is that the small business segment is crucial to any economy, and it is no less true in the South African context. Right now, imagine a future where in a few months' time you go into your local mall and you find that every other store, the small business variety, every other store might be closed. You go into the few stores that are in fact open, that are still trading, and you find that your favorite inventory is no longer on the shelves. Your favorite product, the stuff that you're most used to, the thing, it could be a particular beauty product that you are used to, it's no longer on the shelf and you are now on a wait list. So all of these little things that we've taken for granted in the way of convenience and life may not be possible in a few months' time unless we all take action right now, take responsibility to help each other. Because the small business down the street is still our business. It's still something that we need to support. We may not always realize it, but we do depend on small businesses in our country. So that's the theme and the essence and the culture of the series. It's about helping each other. It's about advising each other. It's about coming together around the fire and discussing solutions, not just focusing on the problems in isolation. On that note, I am super excited to present our expert guests for today's installment. I'm very pleased that we're really bringing to bear the essence of the small business community by having a husband and wife couple who lead a very successful business. They're going to be our expert guests and they're going to give us some fantastic advice on how they are facing some of the small business challenges. And the benefit is that they are also working with small businesses. So they have a lot of rich experience. But before I completely mess things up here in the introduction, I thought it would be a far better idea to have them introduce themselves. So we're going to kick off on that note. Welcome to the show, Martin and Jenny. Let's start with you, Jenny. Let's have you give us a quick introduction of your background.
Okay, thanks, Karushan. I was born in Zimbabwe and relocated to South Africa when I was 10 years old. Since then, I've lived and was raised in Centurion. I started working at a Centurion-based law firm, working my way up from the fax room through being a debtors clerk all the way to an accounts manager and IT specialist. While working, I also paid for my own studies and I managed to get my BCom through NISA. A personal thing is I just always keep learning and have done it throughout my working life, and I feel that that is something that is important. We take every grip of knowledge that we can get and go with it. I've dabbled in financial management, project management, and ERP consulting. And in 2014, I started SysFinPro as a bookkeeping and tax outsourcing company. In 2015, we then got our Sage Business Partner license and subsequently our SAP business license. On a personal level, I'm a Lego fanatic, which is the point of contention. I have an office that has no space for Lego anymore. I love reading and losing myself in a book, and much to Martin's frustration, I buy expensive material and make beautiful quilts when I get the chance.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really beautiful. I never pegged you as a Lego kind of person, but hey, we learn something all the time. Martin, tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so good morning, Karushan, and everybody that joined the call. My name is Martin van Blerk. I was born and raised in Centurion, so I've always been in the same neighborhood. I studied at University of Pretoria. After I got my degree, I was really interested in working in the auditing field, but I was offered a position as a consultant, and I've been consulting ever since. Consulting and implementing ERP systems has become a way of life for me. always working on projects, always solving problems, solving day-to-day problems within the business environment. That's one of my passions. That's what I absolutely love. As Jenny said, we were lucky enough to incorporate SAP Business by Design into our offering at SysFinPro as a true cloud-based ERP system. So it's taking us from strength to strength. On a personal note, yes, Jenny also got me involved on the Lego, for better or worse, as I would say. But I've got a passion for hunting, for Harley-Davidson motorcycles, and restoring old vehicles.
That's interesting.
He was actually my ACPAC consultant, and that's how we met.
Wow! So this is a true match made in the world of accounting and finance and ERP. I think that we couldn't have asked for a more apt set of guests for this type of show. So let's go back to you, Jenny, for a second. What made you specialize in this area of technology beyond the fact that there was a certain gentleman who was introducing you to ACPAC?
Okay. Working at that law firm, it was an international law firm, and as I said, I worked my way through many positions, working my way up. I worked through the accounts and IT departments, and just they and I realized I definitely had a strength for system design and support. So I kind of realized I got a kick out of solving people's problems and creating solutions with IT. So I mean, it's just something that I really realized that I'm good at and I enjoy doing.
All right, thank you. And Martin, what about you? So, Christian, my dad had many successful businesses while I was growing up, and I think it's got a lot to do with that. Why I find myself thinking that I've got a good business mind. I like implementing systems. I like implementing processes to make business work better, to manage risks, to increase efficiency, and to just optimize the day-to-day, working of a company. I find ERP systems is a tool that makes that even more so. So I love using the tool in a way that makes business run better.
Interesting. So what we find to be the problems in our business, you thrive on. Just wonderful. Good choice there. Jenny, I can see why you have Martin around now. He's the guy who likes solving business problems. Let's talk about the situation in South Africa right now. Let's get into the meat of it. Let's start having some of the tougher dialogue here. So Jenny, what is your high-level take on the actual plight of South African small business right now?
Okay. As a small business, we were lucky enough to have some large international companies as our customers. And in the recent month or so, we've been let know that even they are closing their offices in South Africa, which is quite scary. So everything is affecting us small and mid-sized businesses. And the impact on us is bigger because we don't have huge millions and millions of revenue. And we also don't have massive reserves to fall back on. So our bank account we've only got a certain amount of things we can do. And we've noticed with our business dealings, and even in places that I've been shopping at, the amazing thing is how people are changing their business models. And the small business owner is trying to adapt to these COVID times to actually be able to keep their business alive. And one of the good things, I think, with a small business is we can make small adaptations, and we can do these things much faster, which is, I think, an advantage to us.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There is a very important power that small business possesses that we tend to forget, and that is we do have a quicker response time than some of the larger businesses in the market, and because of that we can be the immediate go-to type of organization to respond to immediate challenges and changes in the market, and we're very responsive that way, and it's for that reason again that it's such an important segment for our market, because we manage that immediate shock to the market so much better than some of the bigger organizations who then need longer periods of time for that to translate into their policy. Guys, I just want to remind you on the call, you are welcome to share your questions through the life of the dialogue. You don't have to wait until the end. I will be monitoring questions throughout the entire show. So as you ask questions, I will incorporate that into my questions, and we'll ensure that we make the most of Jenny and Martin's time. Martin, let's talk to you. The reality is right now, when I look at the newspaper, when I look at any form of media, when I look at anything outside, anything that's happening outside, there's just a lot of noise and hype. And the reality is that it's sometimes easy to get caught up in this noise and hype. However, at the end of the day, as small businesses, we still have our responsibilities. We still have our duties. We still have to pay the bills that we've got to pay. What are the actual risks beyond the noise and the hype? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so that's very true, Karushan. There's a lot of noise and hype in the market, in the economy at the moment. Funny story, even the explosion yesterday in Beirut just shows you there's so much going on at the moment. Globally with the pandemic, in South Africa with the pandemic, with the lockdown, it's added a lot of risks that we as business owners hasn't necessarily experienced before 2020. So the risks are very real in business, from small business to large businesses. There's a lot of households that's already gone without an income because both parents or the parent bringing in the has lost their jobs. So that adds a lot of risk for the household. Small business owners, any business owner for that reason, have to pay salaries to their staff. So they've got that risk that they need to make sure that they keep their business afloat, that the financial position is stable, that they can look after their staff. Each business then also has the responsibility to look after their customers and to look after their suppliers, because we ultimately all in this together. We all add and contribute to the economy. Then there's also a lot of noise in the media at the moment, which just adds to unnecessary stress, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And let's just unpack that last statement a little bit more. So how would you advise, just to go a little bit deeper on that same question, how would you advise us as small businesses to start perhaps differentiating between the things that require our attention and the things that's just perhaps a little bit of the media noise that's causing a lot of the stress and uncertainty, but not necessarily stuff that we should be dedicating our time to right now? How do we make that distinction?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I'll, for example, use one of the social media platforms where at the moment there's a lot of noise around things that's happening in the economy and the politics. I tend, as far as possible, not to listen to those because it actually distracts your attention from what's really important. What's really important for me is making sure that our business is running, making sure that we've got cash flow available, making sure that we provide service to our customers when they need it, because that in turn helps them to run their business better, and that in turn helps them to focus on what's really important. So we mustn't at all let whatever is happening on the any social media platform or on the news or anything like that distract us from what's really important, and that is making sure that your business runs smooth. We also come in as implementing ERP products. Those products give the customers the information they need to make the critical decisions, to know what do I need to pay, what money is coming in, what stock do I need to order. That is what everybody needs to focus on.
This is very clear guidance, and I'm glad that you mentioned those specific golden nuggets. I think that as a point of simplification, we really do need to isolate those 1 to 2 to 3 key things that directly influence and affect our stability and success as small businesses. We need to isolate those topics and we need to focus on them. And yes, it's true, we need to be aware of the context, but we can't get caught up in the context. Our job and our duty is still first and foremost to our business, and we got to fix those challenges around making sure our employees get paid, making sure that we are making a profit, making sure that we are able to compute what that profit is, making sure that we are able to make business decisions on which product to stock up on and which products to probably start letting go of. These are the simple business decisions that we have to continue to make even more successfully at this time. And I absolutely support your notion that identifying those 1 to 2 to 3 things that we need to put our attention on is far more important than keeping abreast of all of the noise out there. All right, so let's continue going into the specifics here. So Jenny, let's talk to you for a second. On that subject of being able to monitor stock and monitor pricing, please tell me, how is it that we should know how to price up or price down? I mean, surely there might be some items of stock which are in scarce supply right now, which is tempting to a business owner, let's price it up. And on the other hand, we know that there's a pressure on disposable income, so we should be pricing down. How do we make that distinction? Can you give us just some of your own personal expertise on that?
Okay. I know that times are really tough and everyone is struggling to get their income to cover everything at the moment. Prices all around us seem to be going through the roof. We are all under pressure. And a personal thing is that I feel that we should, as business owners, as far as possible, not put the prices up. It's, if we could, to actually be able to put the prices down. I personally don't feel that it's right to make a killing at this stage in the world. Okay. In our business, we were able, and thankfully that we had our systems in place that we could actually analyze, and we were able to say to our customers, we normally do an annual increase, but this year we were able to not increase our fees to our customers because we had the systems in place that we realized we wouldn't bankrupt ourselves by doing that. So we could offer that benefit across and sort of pass on a bit of goodwill while still being able to pay our bills and look after our staff. So I think it's important to have the right system in place that enables you to make the right business decisions. I mean, it's not going to work if you put your prices down and you land up being out of business in a week or two. And I think we must work together as small business. If a supplier is overcharging and it's possible to get the same product from 2 suppliers, look at that supplier. Go to the one that's giving you the right price and negotiate and put pressure on all of these people and try and together do what we can for our community.
You know, it's a really fine day in South Africa when the when the Indian person is getting advice to actually start negotiating. So I just want to thank you on behalf of my people. So folks, I think that there's a lot of value in that statement. I think those are powerful words, Jenny, and I don't just want to run away from them and not make a big deal about it, because I think what you just said is just very powerful. There's a strong sense of team spirit in your words. There's a strong sense of let's go beyond the call of duty to extend kindness to those amongst us in this community. And I think that sense or that culture of team spirit, of taking care of each other, not just trying to milk the situation or be opportunistic, I think that mindset is an imperative mindset to embody right now in the situation that we find ourselves in. Or we all going to suffer. Like I said in the intro, we are all going to have a situation where we walk into stores in a few months' time and we don't have the products that we've come to love and enjoy. And I think if we all take ownership of this problem, it is absolutely going to mean that as a team, we're going to come out far stronger. Now, these are great words to speak theoretically, but to put into practice does require, as you mentioned, actual systems. We need insight. To go ahead and start dropping prices and not doing the annual increase could have an implication on the business. It could possibly put a few people out of business. The only way you're going to get it right, just to reiterate your sentiments there, it's through visibility and transparency and insight. You cannot make decisions about whether to price up, price down, whether to give special concessions in the absence of data. So you have to have the data. And if in the past, if you could get away without having the data, great. There was play in the system. Maybe we all could have gotten away with a bit of this and that. Now, the play is almost all but gone. We have to be careful. We have to be precise. This is almost the first time ever that South Africans are feeling a pressure to be truly precision in the way we make decisions. I mean, the joke has always been that South Africans kind of see laws as guidelines, and I think now we're starting to see that a lot of what we are facing, it's real, and we don't have that much play in the system. So let's keep going here. So Jenny, not to play what you said down, but I think that I would like us to keep, bringing that sentiment up, that sentiment of the team spirit, and let's just see how we can keep unpacking some of those elements as we proceed. Martin, let's talk to you for a second about margins. So margins are tighter because of this point that I just made about play in the system. We are all experiencing a situation where things are so tight that the slightest incorrect decision could affect our livelihood. How do we keep a tighter handle specifically on input costs?
So, Christian, we need to plan effectively. Input costs into services, whether it be salaries for staff, or input costs in the sense of buying products to resell or to manufacture. It's absolutely important. It doesn't mean that the product that costs the most is going to yield the most return or the most margin. So we need to look at that very carefully. Also, leading into Jenny's comments previously, we need to make sure that we highlight what's fast-moving products, because a fast-moving product might not make a lot of margin. Then again, slow-moving products might make a lot of margin. So we need to take everything into consideration. That's why I'm saying we need to plan effectively. We also need to make sure that we negotiate with our suppliers. As Jenny mentioned previously, we need to make sure as far as possible we can negotiate on pricing, we can negotiate on payment terms, payment holidays, potentially negotiate on settlement discounts or even volume discounts. That will then lower your input costs and can return in either a higher margin or potentially keeping your prices the same or even lowering your prices, as Jenny mentioned previously. So in order to make all these decisions, you need factual data on where these input costs are coming from and how you can lower these input costs. So again, you need to rely on your ERP system, reporting and BI system to provide this factual data so that you can make decisions carefully, not hasty decisions, but looking at the data, making sure that you make the right decision. And that's where we are always happy to assist our customers in providing that information to them. You need insight in your business day to day to make those type of decisions.
Absolutely. I mean, I hear what you say, and I can't but agree to the philosophy. I'm just thinking of the practical realities that a lot of small businesses are facing. I mean, often they wind up in a contract with a supplier, and they kind of manage that based on their knowledge of the supplier, and then they run off and they do work with another supplier, and so it goes. And the next thing you know, a few months down the line, you have all sorts of suppliers. So it's not always super easy to be able to go, on this particular contract with this particular supplier, I can in fact negotiate a payment holiday, whereas with this other supplier I can in fact negotiate an early payment discount. It's quite complex to be able to manage all of these different relationships and know who is going to be open to what kind of negotiation. So on that note, tell me about the importance of insight in regards to being able to have the conversation with each supplier. So how do we keep that visibility? How do we keep that view?
So first of all, you need to ask. I always joke, and it's a well-known saying where they say no is also an answer. So you can always ask the supplier if they are able on providing a discount or payment terms. They will tell you whether it's possible or not. You need the information coming out of your system to analyze also supplier performance. One supplier might be more expensive than the other supplier, but the one that's more expensive has got half the lead time. So you will have the product in your shop or in your warehouse much sooner. So you can change that product into revenue by selling it so much quicker. So it's a lot of aspects that one needs to take into account before you just start making decisions on changing suppliers.
And one nice thing, if I can add, about a system is once you've negotiated these terms for settlement discounts, and your system actually manages this for you. So when you're looking at what you need to pay your suppliers, it's actually saying, right, if I pay them on the 25th, I get a discount. And this is actually what it is. You don't need to keep it all in your head. It's actually calculating and keeping record of everything for you to enable you to manage it better. So you can figure out where your cash needs to go.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Now, I just want to also start incorporating some of the questions and comments that's coming through. So again, message to the audience, keep your comments coming through, keep your questions coming through, because that makes you part of this dialogue and it makes it a lot more exciting for me as well. So I want to just make a comment on to Samuel. You did put a question in to do with climatic instability. I don't have a full concept of what you're asking me, so if you wouldn't mind rephrasing your question in a simpler simpler format. Remember that the discussion is a lot about small business, and it's a lot about how we can continue to enable small businesses to be sustainable even through this rough period. So if you wouldn't mind just sending that through again. Thank you, Samuel. And then just moving along to a comment from Paul. And this is leading very nicely into my next question, so I'm going to incorporate both. So Paul comments here that from my experience, risk management in small business is very intuition driven and maybe backed by an Excel spreadsheet. Perhaps a more formalized approach underpinned with high quality data from across the spectrum of small businesses shared freely across the spectrum is the way to go. Software and analytics can play a massive role. Absolutely. So on that note, let's have a look here. South Africans and South African small business, because that's obviously the key theme here. South Africans have always prided themselves on their knack of running their business. So we know because we've done it for many years. We know because it's in the family and we've done this over and over, and we have a knack and we have a method, and it's our approach. We can weigh something just by getting a handful of grain or whatever. I know I'm making it a bit extreme, but it's the point here is there's an emphasis on knack versus systems. Jenny, let's go to you on this one. What is your response to this idea of having a knack for getting it right?
Okay, I worry, we've all got a feel for our business. I do agree. But especially in this current economic climate of ours, where things are constantly changing. I mean, we don't know what is around the corner. Just like any business has got its tools, we need to have systems as a business owner that is guiding us and giving us information to be able to use our knack and how we feel about things to make decisions. So we need support from our systems to convert all this multitude of data and our sales, which is all valuable information, but put it in a format that we can work with, that we can then apply our intuition and knowledge to. We unfortunately, I don't think, live in times where an Excel spreadsheet is good enough anymore. We need to know our customers, know our suppliers, know our sales, and our system, when that backing, is actually what is giving us that information. So I think, that's my take on it.
All right. Now, I know that when we chatted before, you had a nice analogy with a plumber and how a plumber would go about solving this problem. Do you want to just expand on that so that I don't do a terrible job of paraphrasing you?
Okay. When we spoke previously, we mentioned a plumber has got his own tools to unblock a drain. He knows what he's doing, okay? But I think even a plumber needs a system behind him to know where his tools need to be, and his marketing and his sales, and how much work he's doing. So we all need tools in our businesses to be able to run it and manage it. And that's where I think an ERP falls into place.
Absolutely. I can totally relate to this analogy of the plumber. In order for him to get about his work, whether it's unclogging a drain, he would have his tools, he'll have his systems, he'll have his methods. In much the same way, if he had to zoom out and look at the rest of his business, he's going to have the same level of insight that he uses to solve a more specific problem. He needs to have the set of tools to solve some of the bigger problems regarding his money and regarding his supply management and regarding his day-to-day operations. All right, so we have a question coming through here from Matthew. So Matthew asks, what advice do you have for launching a new FMCG type product in South Africa right now? So taking some of these comments that have come through, Martin, let's perhaps start with you here. Do you have any tips or pieces of advice to someone who's looking at, let's sell something that's a fast moving consumer good? What should they be thinking of?
So if I was in Matthew's shoes, I think the first thing I would do is obviously try and look at your market segment. Make sure that there is a big enough demand for the product, and that you can basically be out of the blocks very, very quickly. So that would probably be my first place to start. Make sure that there's a segment. If there is competitive type products like that already in the market, make sure that you place it at an affordable and competitive price.
And with an edge. What makes your product better than their products?
100% correct. I mean, you get similar products in the market, and the thing that always makes a difference is quality and price. So make sure that the quality is there, make sure that the price is good, and you'll probably have customers sooner than what you think.
Okay, that's good advice. I also want to comment on the fact that, Martin, it's very evident that Jenny is your wife, because your acknowledgement of her is very prompt. You're 100% correct.
Yes.
And I think that's...
Yes, you just can't click his heels because he'll fall off the camera screen.
All right, so on that note, let's stay with Martin for a second here. Guys, I just want to remind the audience, feel free to go ahead and submit your questions, submit your comments as we go through the life of the dialogue. We really want you to be part of this conversation. You're not just watching and observing, you're part of a live show, which gives you the opportunity to be part of the show. Now, on that note, Taryn will be sending out a link into the chat box, which is our post-event survey. I would like you guys to click that link, and I would like you guys to complete the post-event survey. We are only halfway through our discussion, so we are by no means over with the show, but you can start clicking on the link at this point, and you can start sharing your feedback. We do take your feedback incredibly seriously, so it's very important that you click that link and share your feedback with us. So let's stay with Martin for a second, and let's talk about customers. Let's talk about customer experiences in real life situations. Any customer situation that stands out to you while doing this kind of work over the last few years? Yeah, it's a difficult one. I've been doing this for 22 years, so there's been a lot of customers along the way. I would almost say a common thread throughout all of them is how many manual processes there are in a business. Manual processes, duplicating tasks. We should all write less on paper. Don't use spreadsheets as far as possible. Even Matthew's comment with starting out a new business, most probably you'll use spreadsheets in the beginning, but you outgrow that relatively quickly. So we don't need to have manual processes. We need to try and avoid them as far as possible. Put everything into a system that is there to assist you. The important thing with systems as well, it grows with your business. So the more complex your business becomes over time, the more complex the system can become to assist your business, and making sure that you're growing in the correct or in the right direction, put it that way. Let your system manage your stock expiries. Let your system manage your for example, if you're selling food products, let your system assist with managing those expiry dates on the food products. Let your system guide you with minimum and maximum reorder levels, so you know you've always got the correct product in stock. I think also finance teams, their roles are changing these days. Instead of just processing documents like the old days, they're there to provide business with valuable information. I see. Now, Martin, let me just put you on the spot a little bit. Is there anything that in your time of doing all of this customer work, anything that stands out to you that may have been a little bit embarrassing or a little bit shocking that occurred at the customer that really stands out to you in your memory? Of course, you don't have to necessarily divulge all the details, but just tell us what happened at that customer. Anything that stands out to you.
Look, I'd probably say the one is if a customer performs testing on a new system, and they give a very elaborate explanation as to why the system does not work, and then you actually realize, but they've got it on the wrong end. That's probably the most embarrassing, because you also don't want the customer to see that they're in the wrong. Yeah, we're there to guide them. So everybody is human. We all make mistakes.
Okay, good. So that's a very diplomatic answer. I see that you're not divulging too much in the way of a really shocking customer story that stands out to you, but that's totally acceptable. And it's really the hallmark of some good professionalism there on your part there, Martin. So now let's get into the big topic. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about specifically cash flow. Money, of course, especially in small business land, means very different things. You could have a lot of money booked to you as a business, but only a little cash flow. And managing cash flow, especially during these times when there's so much pressure on income from all sources. What is some of the most practical advice you have for us as small businesses, Jenny, in terms of managing cash flow over this period?
Okay. I think planning your cash flow is the most important thing. We don't just go ahead and spend money on everything. We look at what is critical and what needs to be done. Like for us, our salaries and our rent is the most important things in our business for us. All the rest are nice to haves. I think it's good to, like I said before, negotiate with our suppliers for extended terms and settlement discounts. Sometimes we save a lot by just paying early. I mean, we were very blessed. Our landlord has actually given us a reduction in our rent for 6 months. So, I mean, just negotiate, keep asking. It's also good to provide settlement discounts to your clients. Sometimes giving them a little bit of a discount is good because the money's in your bank a lot faster, so that you're the first to be paid by your customers, not the last. I mean, I'd rather for 1 or 2% have money in my bank than wait 60, 120 days to actually get the full amount. I think we need to also limit our stock holding to what we need to have in the bank. I mean, to what we need to actually have in our warehouses, so that we can cover our expected sales.
If I can add something there as well, cash flow is also a tricky thing to manage. You might have a lot of stock holding on slow-moving products. That's tying up your cash flow. So if you've got slow-moving products, you can rather drop the price on the slow-moving products, get it out of your warehouse to get that to be converted to cash in the bank.
I had a case where a customer had sort of almost obsolete stock. They had a whole lot of, say, craft items that they were actually giving away as gifts. So every time you placed an order with them, you got a free gift. So they were actually moving their obsolete stock and like putting together little nice to have packs and gifts for the customers to make them feel special, to almost win them over, whilst actually getting rid of rubbish in their warehouse. So there's always a plan. You know, place an order with us and you get a free gift. Place an order with us and you get some kind of benefit from us as a small business.
Absolutely. You know, while the discussion is going ahead, I received a really important question from Emilia, and Emilia is attacking something that I believe that all of us feel and we don't often say, which is that the sound of ERP is scary. When we say ERP to a smaller business, it is scary because there's a big implementation that is assumed. A lot of us who've come from industry, who've been around for a while, we know about the big deployments of ERP that's happened in our history, and we know that it costs a lot, and it actually is just scary. So when we're talking, like, let's just talk financials, it's kind of a little bit more confrontable. But when we say the term ERP to small businesses, it's scary because people are fearing the effort that's required to get ERP right. So just a comment, let's see, either Martin or Jenny, I'll just open it up to you guys. How do you respond to this notion? Because the reality is that there is a fear associated with ERP. Is it true that it has to be long and unpredictable and necessarily costly?
Christian, I would say no, it's not. The term ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning System, it's just there to help your enterprise, however big or small, to plan your resources. Your resources is cash in the bank, like we said with cash flow. It's your customers, your suppliers, your products, your assets. So an ERP system, whether you call it ERP, accounting product, business management solution, doesn't matter. It is there to help and assist you in your business. So it doesn't have to be a daunting task. You do get various different ERP products, like you get a big house and a small house, a cheap car and an expensive car. ERP products is the same. So what we try and do at SysFinPro is to find the perfect fit solution for every single customer, which takes into account your requirements, your needs, and your budget. So you get ERP products that you can deliver within a few days. You get ERP products that can probably take 6 months to 2 years to implement. So our focus is on the small and the medium-sized business where you can quickly make an impact. So it's almost a quick in and out and the customer is up and running. So it does not have to be a daunting task at all.
Yeah, we're very customer need driven and providing a solution for each customer. So if you're a customer that's got 200 staff working on your system daily, then obviously it will take longer. But if you a one or two business owner, an admin type small business, then we deliver that solution that will help you, that's customized for you to run it and to work better.
That's good. I totally see how that can be. Sorry, Martin, were you saying something?
Yes, thanks, Christian. If I can just add one thing, it's got a lot to do with fit for purpose. If you're a business that buy and sell products, you need a warehouse. So it's exactly that same scenario. You need to buy or invest in a product that's fit for purpose for your goal and for your business.
Okay. So let's extend that concept, because I mean, now that we're talking about this and we're talking about things like investment and spending and stuff, tell me, does it actually, you are aware of these difficult times, you're aware of the risks, you guys have called it out. Does it in fact make sense, Martin, to spend now to save in the future? I mean, it is a risky time. We've been through the debate and we've been through the discussion. What's your honest advice? Does it actually make sense to spend now to save more in the future?
Firstly, I would say that you need to make sure that you're in the financial position currently to spend. So that's very important. We would not advise any client to invest in an ERP or an accounting system when they are struggling immensely. So I want to make that point clear. Secondly, we've got projects that we've currently been busy with during lockdown, which I think was an excellent idea from the customer's point of view to commit their resources and time during this time where their business is actually quiet. So if you're in a financial position where you can actually take some time, invest it in implementing a product during lockdown or maybe while business is quiet, I think it's a very good idea. The important thing is any investment you make on the correct ERP product will yield results. It will free up some of your time because the system is there to assist you, to help you manage your business, to look after your resources, as I said a little bit earlier on.
Okay.
What I also want to add is, sorry, Karushan, we've been blessed with our suppliers, that the suppliers of our ERP software, where they've actually come up with models where you're actually paying off your software. So instead of hauling out 20, 30, or 200, 300,000 Rand, whatever the case may be for the product you want, they're actually saying, right, you know what, we are here to help you. You sign with us and you can pay it off over so many years. And you actually, that's sort of, they're trying to do their bit for our customers as well. So we're able to pass that benefit on to them.
Okay, absolutely, and this is really good to hear. It's good to hear that there's creative business models and models that are not just about one massive, capital explosion, and it's also being amortized over a period of time, which is fantastic, and I'm sure a lot more palatable to small businesses. So let's have a look at another important topic that I feel very strongly about when it comes to small businesses during this particular time, and that's the subject of inventory. I love getting into this conversation. So Jenny, let's just pick up with you on this one. Tell us a little bit about managing inventory during unpredictable times. This is a difficult time. Getting inventory into your outlet or wherever you operate from is in fact difficult. Pricing it right is difficult. Knowing how much to keep on hand is difficult. Knowing how much to, how to work out your margins is difficult. Just give us some advice during these difficult times.
Okay. Just like with your cash flow, I think you need to really plan and plan again with your inventory. You need to order your stock at the right time for your production or sales. So you need a bit of forward planning going forward. And your system is able to give you those kind of figures. I think also it's important to ensure that the suppliers that you're dealing with can actually commit to fixed delivery dates when you need them. Because it's one thing promising to your customer, but when you're waiting for someone to deliver it to you, it's also quite embarrassing. I think it's important to keep our money in our bank for as long as possible and to sell to customers that we know will pay their accounts. Okay? Systems is our backflow, so we can do forward planning, we can do resource management planning for our manufacturing. Sorry, I hit a speed wobble. And our system will actually be able to help us sell stock that is about to expire, manage our seller, our last in, first out, that kind of thing, to actually rotate, to know what is in our warehouses, what's moving, what's overpriced, what's underpriced. We can focus on what is making us better money and not necessarily selling huge volumes of products that is making a cent or two's profits. So I think a system will help us to be able to go back and take a decent look at what's going on with our stock and focus on that from there.
And that makes sense. So, we're talking many concepts here. There's cash flow, there's inventory, there's supplier management, there's all these tips and tricks. And it's quite a lot for us to start to digest. It's like, just when we thought that we had a ton of problems outside of our businesses, now we're finding that there's a ton of things that need to be resolved within the business. So let's try and prioritize some of this. Let's try to make it a little bit more realistic and more confrontable for our small business owners out there. Martin, what are the absolute must-haves? What are the things that we absolutely must do from a priority point of view that's going to allow us to be successful in the shortest time possible?
So it will obviously be slightly different from business to business. I think the common thread through all is we need staff. We need people to help us run our business, whether it's customer facing, whether it's distribution, whether it's manufacturing. We need staff. We always tell our team, we are as strong as what our team makes us. So team members is very important. Staff is very important during any time with running a business. You need products and services to sell. So you need to make sure that your product is of good quality, it's of a competitive price to put out in the market. You also need to build your market. So you need to make sure that there is a need for your product in the market. So a certain degree of marketing is definitely important. You can have a very good product and service, but if you don't generate the market for it, you won't be able to sell that product. Then from a system point of view, you need to provide a backbone for your business activities, to manage stock, to create invoices to customers, and to report on your financial situation. As important as it is to have staff and products, if you can't report on what's happening day to day, you are basically running blind.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about this concept. Let's bring this entire discussion back into the world of remote work. And Jenny, this one's for you. Tell us how we can take some of these concepts, and of course we've mentioned the staff point now. Martin's made it clear about the importance of staff from a priority point of view. How do we handle this conversation of remote work together with the other pressures that we're facing, together with all of the need to manage costs and expenses and keep the right price point going, together with handling a workforce that is probably sitting in various locations? How do we bring all of that together, Jenny?
Okay. The past few months of lockdown have taught us a lot of things. I don't know about you, my kids are busy doing school from home, which I never thought was even possible. It's shown us that you can do almost anything from home, even order your groceries. I think it's important to have the right systems, processes, and the right people in place. And I mean, you need the buy-in of and commitment from the people to actually run those systems and processes, and to actually not take afternoon naps, if you know what I'm saying. The only thing that you can't do remotely is manufacture your stock in your factory, pick it and pack it, and actually get it delivered, and then also deliver a physical service to your customers. I mean, in our business, we're very blessed in that we can log into your computer system and talk to you on the phone, but it's not always the case. So I think our world has changed a lot. I know of some businesses that are even giving up their offices. They say that's wasted money. We don't need a big office anymore because my guys are actually working well from home. So I think having a strong system backing behind you, and also being able to access it from anywhere at any time, is facilitating these processes. So it's making things a lot easier.
All right. Okay, and that does make it very, very clear how we can start putting some very practical measures in place in order to respond to this remote work challenge. I've got an interesting comment come through from Paul. This is taking us back into the discussion of context, what's happening in the environment, and I'm going to leave it open to you guys to volunteer and answer. There's a comment about, how do we future-proof a small business against negative impact of decision making by the state? So say the state takes a decision that is going to impact the viability or the livelihood of a small business. Are there ways for us to future-proof that small business against some of these decisions taken by the state? Tough question. Any takers?
So I'll take it.
Don't sell cigarettes or alcohol. Sorry.
So I'll take the question, Karushan. For me, it comes down to thinking out the box. It's very difficult to future-proof a business if you don't know what decisions the state is going to make. Like Jenny said, we've been really blessed in the type of business that we're in, that we could have worked for most of the time during lockdown. There's certain industries that's still taking a lot of pressure in the sense of hotel tourism. It's very difficult for them. I want to use an example. We're lucky enough to go to Clarence quite often in the Free State. One of our good friends there has got a restaurant, and during lockdown she actually converted part of the restaurant into a full-time bakery. So I think it's key to think out of the box. If you are inhibited in any way with doing normal business, you need to try and think up of other ways of using your products and services to still continue. At the end of the day, this too shall pass. We cannot remain restricted or in lockdown for an indefinite time. So just hang on, it will get better, but think out of the box. Try different ways of applying yourself to keep going.
And I think it's important, if you've got a future plan, don't let go of it because of lockdown. Even if you have to say, right, I'm going to sell exotic alcohol from Mauritius, okay, for example. Keep hold of that, but just shelve it for a little while until things get better. I mean, like Martin said, this is not forever.
All right, and Jenny, I will be following up on that exotic alcohol from Mauritius, but that we can take offline after the show. All right.
Gin farm, yeah.
So folks, we've got about 7 minutes before we wrap the show. I'm going to try to cover at least 3 more questions to make sure we get as much value out of this discussion as possible. Again, I'm going to invite you to please complete the survey. Taryn would have put the link into the chat box. You can pick it up from there. Just a quick click, and then I promise you the survey doesn't take more than 30 to 60 seconds. Super quick survey with just a couple of drop-down selections that you're going to have to make. All right, so let's try to get to this one from Brian. I think it's a good question here. Brian is commenting on the fact that it's challenging to start up a new business at the best of times. And it's even more challenging to start up a small business at this point. So he's just asking for some random advice on what should he keep in mind when starting a business at this time. Any quick comments on that?
So I'll take this one, Karushan. Brian is 100% correct. Starting a business at any time is challenging. They say most businesses fail within the first 3 years. So it is a difficult one. You need money to make money. So for me, it comes down again to cash flow. Make sure that you've got the required capital to start the business and to continue for at least a few months with limited or no revenue coming in. If that is possible, it's definitely a good place to start on, because it will just relieve some of the pressure to try and make revenue from day one. We know we went through the same thing 6-7 years ago, so it's really important to make sure that your cash flow is intact, because that's what's helping your business drive from day to day. Then make sure that, like we said a little bit earlier on, make sure your product is good quality or your service is good quality. Make sure that the product price or service price is competitive in the market. The sooner you can start with building a customer base, the better. you can start off with low pricing, and as your customer base grows, you can increase your pricing. But you don't want to start high and struggle to make any sales.
Okay, good. Fantastic. So we got quite a number of comments and questions coming through at this late stage. We have 5 minutes to go. I would like to just do 2 quick questions, and then I'd like to do a wrap up. And we're gonna conclude perfectly on time at 11 as we promised. Again, guys, feel free to go ahead and start completing those surveys as we do this wrap up. So I just want to talk to you, Martin, for a second on people. Tell us, what does all of this have to do with people? You mentioned staff earlier, but if you had to just sum up the people point in terms of all of this transition and pressure, what comment do you have in regards to people?
So, Christian, in my opinion, you need the right people in your business. It's very important. We often tell our team we will succeed together or we will fail together. That's something that we believe in. So we all need to work together. You need the right people in your business to assist you and to help you drive the common goal. In the same scenario, you also need to make sure that you work with the type of customers and suppliers that you can build a long-lasting relationship for. We've had customers that we've been working with for a long time, and it becomes to a stage where you know their business as well as they know their business. You become friends with them. You understand their problems. You know what they're going through. So we must never forget that even though we're in business, we are people dealing with people. So I don't work with another business. I work with another customer. It's a person that's got feelings, that's got problems, that's going through some stress and uncertain times. So we're people servicing people. We're there to assist them where we can.
And I think we mustn't forget that a relationship is also so strong in that even when that person that we've dealt with moves on to another company, they are the first one to say, hey, SysFinPro is fantastic. Let's work with them. So there's always good relationships build good business. And it's not just with your customers, it's with future customers. It's with your entire market.
Absolutely, and totally understood. So on that note, Jenny, let's talk about this fear that people have about becoming beholden to a supplier. Because it's one thing to talk about our people aspect where we're recruiting people. But what about our suppliers? Doesn't it sometimes become scary when you bring someone in who's going to just change the heart and soul of your company and then you become beholden to them forever? What's your thoughts on that?
I have to agree. It is scary to choose a supplier, and choosing a wrong fit supplier is even more catastrophic for you. I like to choose a strong brand when looking at things. My best advice is, you actually go out and when you meet with people, you sort of make a connection and you realize these guys have actually got my interest at heart in my business, and I can actually trust them to deliver something. A company's reputation is always important. Get referral letters, talk to people who've dealt with them and have an opinion of them. And also, I think it's important to look at a product that has a good footprint within your country or within your area. I want to know that if I don't like Ford Centurion, I can go to Ford Menlyn, for example. I can go anywhere and still get good service if the person that I'm dealing with I don't get along with. I think it's good not to have too much customization on your systems, because then you sort of tied in because they're the only people that can help you with it. It's great when you actually find the right fit, because as your system grows and you walk the road with your supplier, you're investing so much time in it, and so is your supplier. So you're building this really solid relationship, and like Martin says, you almost speak the company speak. So when John phones and he talks about his toilet paper products and his factory and his warehouse, for example, you can actually talk toilet paper to him and know what he's dealing with. And I think that mutual investment and mutual growth, and obviously your customer's also becoming an exporter in his own system over time. So it's that relationship that you're building and investing in the whole time with your supplier.
This is fantastic advice. I really, really love it. And I'm going to start wrapping the show now. At this point, I want to say that I personally, as someone who's very much a part of the small business community, I loved the pearls of wisdom that emerged on today's show. I think that everything that was said was super practical. It was super relatable. It was not theoretical. It was all about getting stuff done in the real world. And I just want to say a special thank you to Jenny and Martin for being so close to home, for keeping us on the straight and narrow through the conversation. There was no fluff. There was no airy-fairy talk. It was very real. It was very, very practical. And my absolute gratitude in your direction, not just for what you've done on the show, but for all of the help that you've given through your words to the small business owners who've been listening to the show. I know that we've had quite a number of comments that we haven't been able to get to because of the time constraints of the show, but I promise you, I think there's someone by the name of MPS who's put a question to do with starting up a business. We will follow up with you, and if you would like some time, if you would like to talk to Jenny and Martin or one of the staff members, we can facilitate and arrange that, and all you'd have to do is let us know inside your survey link that you would like some kind of follow-up conversation. We don't mind doing a follow-up conversation. In fact, we do it with a great amount of pleasure, so do let us know on your survey form. In closing, I just want to refer to a comment from Emilia. Emilia says that this is the time that we should be looking to diversify our income streams, and I just want to reiterate that, in conjunction with what Paul raised earlier on the subject of the state making decisions that affect our small businesses. It's incorrect for us to stand out there and try to scream at the sky, to fight against a power that we can't really see and recognize. The biggest duty that we have is to do the things that, despite the adversity we face, despite what we're up against, we still outwit and outplay and compete this really dangerous environment that we find ourselves in. So when we find that one income stream is under pressure, we go and diversify with another. We look at better efficiency or more intelligent ways of running our business, insight-driven approaches. We can't go by the feel of our hands anymore. We have to be smart. It is a tough world out there. It's a tough market, and we have to employ systems and technique and method that works. Tried and tested methods that will always work. So on that note, a big thank you again to our guests. Thank you to you for showing up, and I'm going to call it thank you so much for watching Table Manners for Robots. Cheers.